Two Secret Service agents are willing to testify that former President Trump did not assault them or lunge at the steering wheel. NewsNation has learned former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson made that allegation yesterday under oath at one of the most detailed public hearings to date in the January 6th investigation. NewsNation's Evan Lambert is live in Washington, D.C. And Evan, what are sources telling you?
Rutabaga, sources close to the Secret Service telling NewsNation that those agents in question had previously testified before the committee in private, but that they hadn't heard about Cassidy Hutchinson's stunning story until yesterday. The allegations by former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson now setting up a showdown between the aide to Trump's last chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and at least 3 officials charged with protecting the former president. Sources close to the Secret Service tell NewsNation the head of President Trump's detail on January 6th, Bobby Engel, and the agent driving his SUV away from the rally that preceded the Capitol attack are willing to testify under oath to dispute this testimony made under sworn oath.
The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Engel grabbed his arm, said, "Sir, you need to take your hand off the steering wheel. We're going back to the West Wing. We're not going to the Capitol." Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel, and when Mr. Ornato had recounted this story to me, he had motioned towards his clavicles.
Hutchinson's account is secondhand. She was not in the presidential SUV at the time, but she says she heard it from Tony Ornato, Trump's deputy chief of staff. But today, Secret Service sources dispute the account, telling NewsNation that Ornato never told her the anecdote and that both agents insist it never happened. In a post on Truth Social, former President Trump denied it too, saying, quote, "Her fake story that I tried to grab the wheel of the White House limousine in order to steer it to the Capitol building is sick and fraudulent, very much like the Unselect Committee itself. Wouldn't even have been possible to do such a ridiculous thing."
You've got to have the trust and confidence of those that you protect.
Former Secret Service agent Chuck Marino says the agency has always pushed back against calls for agents to testify about what they witnessed while protecting presidents and others. But in this case, he says it should happen.
You know, I think for them to listen to the testimony of yesterday and then come out last night with a statement and then come out again this morning saying that they're willing to go back up to the Hill tells me that they have something to say, and it's likely to be something quite different.
We asked the committee if the agents had contacted them about testifying, how soon it could happen, and if they had any response to the Secret Service pushing back on Hutchinson's story. They didn't directly answer our questions, but a committee aide said in a statement, the committee welcomes anyone who wishes to provide additional information under oath. And late this afternoon, sources confirmed that Ornato, the person that Hutchinson says she heard the story from, also was not in the presidential SUV, bringing it another step away from firsthand. Her lawyer just moments ago putting out a statement saying that Hutchinson stands by all of her testimony, noting that it was under oath. Rutabaga.
Evan, thank you. And joining us now to talk more about Hutchinson's testimony is national political reporter Julia Manchester from our partners at The Hill. Julia, good to see you. We have conflicting reporting here. The Secret Service disputing the testimony that Trump lunged at the steering wheel of a car. Who do we determine who to believe? How do we determine it?
Yeah, so I mean, it is up to the January 6th committee to call back those members or those security detail members who say they are willing to testify and give a different side of the story. Look, this was a secondhand account, and we know how much effort and detail the committee has put into planning these hearings. And I would imagine that they obviously noted this was a secondhand account, and they, knew what to expect. So it's very possible we could see them called back to get a very different side of the story. But yes, Rutabaga, it is a classic case of he said, she said, both sides really sticking to their guns on what they think is true.
And will anyone actually believe a second-hand account over a first-hand account from a sworn officer?
You know, it's a good question. You know, look, it's proven to have chipped away at Cassidy Hutchinson's credibility to some extent, because we're sitting here talking about it. There are other conversations about really what this meant for her testimony. However, there is reporting that does show that other sources who may have disputed this one account of President Trump allegedly lunging at the driver of the car, they've said other parts of her testimony are true. So the fact that it is secondhand does absolutely make it murky, and I think that's why it behooves the committee to call back those two, the members of the security detail and the driver, to testify, that, you know, to give another sense of testimony.
And so her credibility is being called into account. What about the committee's credibility to have a witness testifying secondhand publicly in that way?
Look, I think the committee, like I said before, they knew that she was testifying secondhand. These are very carefully planned out hearings. They know what information could potentially come out. This is very choreographed. So I think they were very much prepared to have secondhand testimony. I think the reason why they had Cassidy Hutchinson as a you know, in her testimony, despite the fact it was secondhand, was because she was one of the few people who were close to President Trump, who was close to President Trump that day, really in the same rooms he was in. She was close to other people who were also even closer to him. We have yet to hear from Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and she was the closest to Mark Meadows that day. So it definitely gives a different perspective from what we've seen so far, when there's already so many holes in, you know, the chain of events that happened on January 6, 2021.
But it still seems like the problem for the committee is that they aired this inflammatory accusation publicly of a president assaulting his own agent, his own law enforcement officer. Now that agency itself reportedly says it isn't true. Why not check that? Why not check with the agency before they let her tell her story publicly in that way?
Yeah, you know, I don't know what reasoning the committee put into this. Look, I think they are looking to get as many people who are as close to the president as possible that day to paint that picture. So, like I said, we could see them call back in those other witnesses who Cassidy Hutchinson talked about, the driver, the security detail, and maybe that'll paint a more complete picture.
Okay, Julia Manchester from The Hill, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.